This is not the last episode of Connection Revealed that will appear on this free public feed in about 1 week. But I produce extra stuff, I create much more than what is available on this feed. And part of that is this second exclusive short story available to theater members. And I just wanted to share this first part of the exclusive short story so that you can have an idea of my other work. Now, about that last episode of Connection Revealed, if you go to Patreon now and sign up as a free member, you'll see that I'm about to drop the last episode of Connection Revealed for free for everyone if you sign up on Patreon as a free member. Patreon.com/Lesbian Romantic. All right, enjoy this story and enjoy the last episode of Connection Revealed on Patreon or on this feed, where I'll be back with that last episode next week. Bye. The evening could have been beautiful, with the stars and moon shining brightly despite the city's glow. But for Lauren, it was as bad as it could get. Almost divorced and unemployed, she thought, rubbing her cheek and shaking her head in angry disbelief. I can't believe this. Lauren stared up at the sky again, her elbows resting on the low wall of the hotel roof. How did this happen? She asked herself. How did I let this happen? She knew there would be meetings to understand what had gone wrong. Long, painful, embarrassing meetings. Unless she ran away, of course. That was always an option. She could sneak out of here, make a quick stop at home, and take a cab to the airport. They'd look for me, though, Lauren realized, and it would only get worse. There was no escape from the initial humiliation. She would have to face it for at least a few days before being able to go into hiding and having time to lick her wounds. With very little money left, she would have to make it work somehow. Lauren straightened up and glanced at her aching feet and the high heels she had been wearing too frequently lately. She made a decision and kicked off the shoes, briefly contemplating throwing them over the wall. She yearned to see them sail through the air. I don't want to end up in prison for manslaughter too, she thought as she kicked the shoes to the side instead. The tiles lining the rooftop patio were still warm from the day's heat, despite the sun setting hours ago. She purposely avoided checking her phone, so she wasn't sure what time it was, but she knew it was high time to suck it up and go downstairs. Why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? She thought, then chuckled as she realized she was moping. You're too old to mope this much, her soon-to-be ex-husband had often told her. He had been right about that, but wrong about plenty of other things. Lauren wasn't sad to see him disappear from her life. Still, her ego hated that she hadn't been the one to end it, despite wanting to for a very long time. I should have brought some wine up here, Lauren thought, then remembered she had promised herself not to drink during stressful times. A part of her wanted to abandon that resolution, just like her shoes. She squinted her eyes at what must be the North Star. I thought I was better than this, she said to herself out loud, but her voice sounded tired and unconvincing. She repeated it louder this time. Come on, I am fucking better than this. A voice sounded from behind her. I'm sorry? Lauren cursed as her heart skipped a beat or two. Fuck. What the hell? I don't appreciate your language, a woman said, standing in the doorway of the rooftop patio. Lauren was so stunned that she momentarily forgot to warn her unwanted guest about the door. Don't, she began, but then a loud, metallic click echoed through the air. Oh, for fuck's sake, Lauren complained, throwing her hands up in the air. You just locked us out. What? the other woman responded, turning to pull on the door handle. It didn't budge. You've got to be kidding me, Lauren sighed. This is the last thing I need. I have to go downstairs. Shit. Stop swearing, Lauren's unwanted companion scolded, glaring at her. No wonder you lost the election. Lauren's jaw dropped in shock. Excuse me? The woman lifted a phone to her ear. I'll just call my coworker and he can come and get us, she said. Lauren continued to stare at her, feeling both shocked and annoyed. Her unwanted companion was wearing a tight, knee-high skirt that Lauren would never choose to wear herself. She thought the woman looked vaguely familiar, but couldn't be sure. Straight to voicemail, the woman muttered, tapping on her screen before raising it to her ear again. Lauren thought of the poor reception in the hotel's ballroom and shook her head in frustration. Turning back to face the city below, she sighed. Horrible reception down there, while running a hand through her already disheveled hair. The hotel towered over the modest skyline. From this height, people in the streets below appeared as mere dots. Not quite ants, but not much different. For a moment, Lauren felt their collective energy, their hopes and shattered dreams swirling in the air like a river's currents. We're stuck, she murmured quietly. This is bad, the other woman said as she joined Lauren at the edge of the rooftop. Can you try calling your team? They're all downstairs. Someone must have cell reception. Lauren turned to face her and asked, Do I know you? You seem to know me. The woman frowned and replied, Everyone in the district knows who you are. She still had her phone pressed against her ear. Yeah, tell me about it. Lauren shook her head and looked back down at the city. She might have to flee to another country where journalists wouldn't cover her crushing defeat on every news channel. Or was she being narcissistic? Would people forget about her soon enough? I'm V, the woman introduced herself without offering her hand. V. Peters. Lauren smacked her lips, regretting not bringing something to drink up here. The name V. Peters did ring a bell. Still no one responding, V said. Can you please help me out here and call your team? I need to be places. Lauren laughed bitterly. So do I. Then why aren't you on your phone? V insisted. Sighing, Lauren pulled out her phone to check the screen. She had numerous missed calls and messages, likely all inquiring about her whereabouts. She studied the names on the screen momentarily before shaking her head. Nope, she said bluntly. I'm not ready. What do you mean you're not ready? V asked incredulously. You can't stay here. I can't stay here. We both need to go down there and celebrate. Celebrate? Lauren asked, facing V while leaning on her elbow. I have nothing to celebrate. She wished she didn't sound so bitter, but she did. Okay, you don't, V said, rolling her eyes. But I do. I worked hard for this. Lauren narrowed her eyes as something tugged at the edge of her consciousness. It kept repeating, V. Peters, V. Peters, V. Peters, V. Peters. As if eventually a puzzle piece would click into place and everything would make sense. What did you work so hard for? Lauren asked suspiciously, her hands resting on the cold wall. V gestured at the city below. The people have spoken. It's election night. We won. Oh God, Lauren said as things finally clicked. You're part of his team. I am, V said, nodding. As a consultant. Huffing, Lauren ran a hand through her hair again. You're the enemy. I'm someone whom your enemy hired to beat you, V corrected, lowering her phone. You played dirty, Lauren said without thinking, her anger suddenly flashing. Real fucking dirty. And now you want to go celebrate being a horrible person? V didn't look impressed or offended by Lauren's outburst. She crossed her arms and smiled. You know, if you used fewer F-bombs, my job wouldn't have been as easy. Lauren pointed at V. One time, she said. One single fucking F-bomb in one interview. Smiling, V shrugged. People know better than to believe that. And you're only proving they were right tonight. Your guy will ruin many of their lives, Lauren replied, pointing down at the streets. And you made them care about F-bombs? And my crappy marriage? V's expression softened abruptly. Yeah, well, you know how politics work, she said. Lauren crossed her arms. How politics work? You mean how anything is fair game? How divorce apparently disqualifies you from public office? How being divorced is a sign of immorality and weakness? V took in a deep breath. Yes, I guess all of that. As a woman. So, you told your boss not to release those ads since you're a woman too? No, V replied slowly, now also looking down at the city. I told them to book prime time. Lauren's lips parted in shock again. Of course you did, she whispered angrily, clenching her fingers around her phone. You're all the same, aren't you? Hypocrites and liars. I'm not a hypocrite or a liar, V said quickly. Lauren pointed at her phone with a sarcastic smile and raised it to her ear. You were right. I should call my team of decent, hard-working people who had their dreams crushed tonight by people like you, she said. Lauren turned around to hide the tears welling in her eyes as she listened to the voicemail from her communication manager. You can't take this personally, V said from behind her. Lauren spun on her heel. Are you kidding me? I was just doing my job, V replied. Did your team answer the phone? Do you think I would still be standing here talking to you if they did? Lauren snapped. I guess not, V sighed, lifting her shoulders. It seems we're stuck with each other for a little while until someone realizes we're missing. Yeah, I think I'll go wait over there, Lauren said, pointing at a corner of the rooftop. You can wait here. She trudged off, her knee-high nylon socks immediately ripping on the rough edges of the tiles. Don't be ridiculous, V said, her high heels echoing loudly on the tiles. Why not use this opportunity to learn how to play the game better next time? Play the game? Lauren huffed and turned around. This wasn't a game to me. I wanted to work for the people of this district. I wanted to make this place a better world. V blinked, then smiled. Do you mean make the world a better place? Lauren's nostrils flared. She turned away from V, taking a few steps. A member of her staff had coached her on managing difficult emotions during her campaign, so she walked a little and concentrated on her breathing. Stop running away, V yelled after her. I'm not running away. I'm meditating, Lauren yelled back. A deep chuckle came from behind her. Really? Because you don't sound very zen. Lauren stopped and took in a deep, shaky breath. Can you just shut up and leave me be? No, V simply responded, her tone as excited as the bark of a dog that had caught the scent of a tasty bone. I can share some insights that might assist you. I believe you're a good person who has, unfortunately, received terrible advice. Consider this a free consultation from a true professional. Fine, Lauren snorted, surprising even herself. She turned slowly and met V's gaze. Tell me, what is it that you want me to know so badly that you'll force me to listen? V nodded approvingly. I have plenty to tell you. Lauren rolled her eyes. Do you want to put your shoes back on first? V asked, pointing at Lauren's feet. I do not, Lauren immediately responded, even though her feet were getting cold. This is part of your problem, V started to explain. You are too stubborn. You always dig in instead of giving way. Lauren huffed. Are you telling me I shouldn't have principles? I'm not talking about principles, V clarified, again pointing at Lauren's feet. You dig in about everything. It's probably your biggest personality flaw. You're my therapist now? Lauren asked, unable to believe what was happening to her on this roof tonight. I'm just telling you what you need to hear to actually win next time, V explained, gesturing freely with her hands. And why do you think you know all of this? Lauren asked, growing increasingly incredulous. I analyzed you, V said simply. It's standard procedure. I probably know more about you than you know about yourself. Sure, Lauren laughed, shaking her head. She returned to the edge of the rooftop and leaned her elbows on the wall again. The rough material seemed to have grown colder in the last 10 minutes. You don't have an analysis on our guy? V asked, stepping closer to Lauren than she would have liked. Of course we do, Lauren replied. We know all his positions and past votes. V snorted. Not policy. Personality. It's not about the policy. She shook her head. It never really is. It's about how you can play the game. Lauren turned her head to examine the person who had locked her out on the roof. She noticed that V was actually older than she had initially thought, her age concealed by makeup and well-tailored clothing. So it's all, Lauren said slowly, it's about winning? You don't fight for something? Just for the sake of fighting? You're not the first to ask that question, V sighed. No, I only work for people who stand for things I believe in. Really? Lauren asked. Because I haven't heard what it is you stand for. I'm just pragmatic, V answered after a moment. I show the voters who they're voting for. Beliefs and principles are only worth something if the person actually walks the talk. Lauren chewed on her lower lip. I think I might agree with you for the first time, in theory. But not in practice, V asked. Not in your practice, Lauren said, meeting her gaze. You seem to think that dropping an F-bomb now and then makes you a bad person. Not a bad person, V shook her head. Just not a very family-friendly woman. Do you know what's not family-friendly? Lauren retorted, stereotyping women as either saintly mothers or wicked witches. Do you think that's healthy for family dynamics? The expectation for a mother to be picture perfect and serve her family all the time? And if she makes one mistake because she's tired or angry, she's crucified by other women like you? This is your other problem, V said, leaning on one elbow. She looked like she was having fun. Your woke professor side. My woke professor side? Lauren scoffed. Yes, you always want to make everything a systemic problem. Everything is systemic, Lauren said, gesturing around. To deny that is to deny reality. People don't like systems. They're too big to understand, V said, searching through her pockets. People prefer hearing about individual responsibility and opportunity. Not all this woke nonsense. Lauren straightened up, feeling frustrated. But that's just... Oh, you don't have to convince me, V interrupted. I know you're right. I'm not uneducated. I understand how cultures and systems work. Or don't work. Then why are you working for a man who promotes the idea that everyone should pull themselves up by their bootstraps? That anyone can do anything, and failure is always a personal failure? V finally found what she was looking for and held out a small box. I think it's the only thing people can handle. They want to believe they're in control. They want to believe they can make a difference. Nobody likes feeling like a victim. Want a peppermint? No, thanks, Lauren said, shaking her head in disbelief again. I'm addicted to these, V explained, popping a mint into her mouth. They feel like fire in your mouth, don't they? Wouldn't know, Lauren said angrily. I'm going to try my phone again. She couldn't believe how little this woman cared. V was clearly intelligent enough to understand how the world worked. Yet she chose to support those who profited the most from a chaotic, indifferent system. So now you're ready to go in there and face the music? V asked, chewing on her peppermint. I'm ready to get away from you, Lauren spat under her breath as she tapped the screen and pressed her phone against her ear. She attempted to call every member of her team, desperate to escape from this troublesome woman. Yet, every call she made went straight to voicemail or wouldn't even connect. She let out a frustrated breath and looked back at V. She watched V as she too tried to call someone again and again. What if she could get through to this woman? Surely there had to be something good in her. Why are you staring at me? V asked, lowering her phone and giving Lauren a look that reminded her of a girl she had hated in high school. Good question, Lauren blurted out, mostly in reply to her own thoughts. What does that mean? V asked hesitantly, her eyes darting from her phone back to Lauren. Were you always like this? Lauren finally asked, wiggling her toes to fight the cold. Like what? V replied defensively. Ruthless, cold-hearted, without principles? Her voice dripped with sarcasm but was less steady than before. Lauren stopped moving her toes. It was true that she saw all these things in V, but she hadn't planned on saying that out loud. She knew how it felt to be accused of personality traits you did not want to be associated with. She too had looked into the mirror many times. I was going to say disappointed, Lauren said slowly, following her gut for a moment. I'm not disappointed, V immediately snapped back. I'm a grown-up, and I'm just being realistic. Lauren smiled sadly, staring at the locked door of the rooftop. As am I these days, she sighed. Reality really did a number on me. They both fell silent for a while as the sounds of the city echoed from below, though they didn't seem as loud as before. It felt as if the rooftop was now enclosed by glass walls, with every sound bouncing off of them. I know you want to make this world a better place, V suddenly said. But you don't want it enough, or you would have done anything to win. Lauren glanced over at her unwanted company in sudden desperation. Please, not another lecture on how to win in politics. Don't you want to win next time? V asked, shaking her head in disbelief. Don't you want to be in power and actually change things? Not at all costs, Lauren said, also shaking her head. I'm not truly changing anything if I do everything to win. Plus, there are other ways I can help people. I don't have to be elected to do that. Lauren didn't know what she was going to say, but a smile formed as she processed her words. For the first time that night, she didn't feel like she had lost everything. Hadn't she helped people in numerous ways before? She realized she could still do that. She repeated, I don't have to win an election to help people. V frowned deeply. Her lips parted, but she didn't say anything. This happened a few times before she finally uttered, I don't know what that's like. What do you mean? Lauren asked, glancing towards her shoes on the rooftop. Her toes were becoming increasingly cold, but putting them back into her shoes no longer seemed like a viable solution. I live to win, V said simply. I always have, so I don't know how to help people other than through winning. I'm sorry, Lauren joked a little, feeling uncomfortable in a new way. Why wouldn't you want to win? V asked, looking genuinely dumbfounded. It makes you a loser all the time. How can you make things happen if you don't want to win? This was such a ridiculous thing to say that Lauren burst out laughing. Are you serious? I am, V said, nodding firmly. Lauren's mouth dropped open. "You really are," she said. "I am," Vi repeated. Lauren tilted her head, trying to understand what drove the woman standing beside her. Vi couldn't be much younger, yet in many ways, she seemed to embrace a worldview more fitting of high school than the adult world of politics. "What do you do when you lose?" Lauren asked. "I just make sure I don't lose. I only pick the winning teams," Vi said, shrugging as if this was the most normal thing in the world to say. Lauren's lips parted again as she took that in. "Okay, what do you do when you lose?" Vi continued before Lauren could say anything. Lauren studied Vi's face, but no longer found the expected sarcasm or contempt there. "Well," she stammered, I try to sit with it these days." She blushed a little as she said it because she had come up here to hide instead of sitting with her loss. "These days?" Vi inquired. Slowly, Lauren nodded. "Yeah, it's pretty new for me too. Someone taught me this to get through the campaign. I try to allow things to just be as they are, you know? Except the things I have no control over." "Is that why you came up here?" Vi pressed on. "Just to let it be?" Lauren narrowed her eyes in thought. Just moments ago, Vi had come across as an entitled teenager. Now, she was suddenly holding up the mirror that Lauren had been avoiding. "No, I was running away," Lauren finally admitted. "It's still my go-to response." Vi smiled and looked down at Lauren's feet. "Is that why you kicked off the shoes? For running?" Lauren laughed. "No, that was because I was tired of those heels. They're not really me, you know?" "So you do make concessions," Vi smiled, her eyes twinkling. "You don't listen to political advisors, but you do listen to your stylist." Laughing again, Lauren said, "Yes, to my own demise." She looked down at her feet and wrinkled her nose. They were starting to look a bit purplish, especially her toes. "That looks bad," Vi commented, bending over a little to study Lauren's feet too. Embarrassed, Lauren waved her concern away. "I get it all the time. Bad blood circulation, I guess." "Sit down," Vi said. "I took a first aid course once, and your toes look really bad." "What?" Lauren asked, laughing. "Seriously, they're like this all the time." "Sit on this." Okay, that was it for this free part of the exclusive short story. If you want to find out what happens next, if you want to listen to the full story, consider becoming a Bells and Whistles Theater member today at patreon.com/lesbianromantic.